Okay, the first thing we need to get started with is going to repel.it. So I've already typed it in here, but it's just repl.it. When you get to that site, it'll take you to this page here, and you want to go to this pull down, and you can see there's tons of other languages you could learn through this website as well. We're going to just go with Python 3, and that's the best part I like about this page is it's just very simple. Your code is going to go here, you're going to run your code here, and you're going to be able to see what you've printed in this section. You can also share your code, which is how you'll hand things in to me. Now, if you don't get prompted to create a username, just click the login button at the top and select sign up. It's incredibly easy. Just pick whatever username you want to use. Try to make it something to do with your name, but like I've already created mine, so the username might be taken. So create something unique that has your name in it, if possible. Throw an email address in there. You can just use your first name dot last name at rcsd.ca password or username. Set up your password and say sign up. That's honestly it. It really doesn't ask you for a lot more. Because I'm signed up as a teacher, it takes me to this My Classroom page. To get back to the coding windows, you hit My Repels and hit Start Coding Now. Remember, we're going with Python 3, and here's our coding window again. And the first thing we're going to learn about, the first little coding lesson for Python, is going to be about comments. So putting a hashtag in front of something creates a comment, just like we used in Scratch, where we selected a comment in order to explain what our program was. As soon as you put a hashtag in front of any text, the program ignores it because the computer doesn't speak English, so it doesn't know what it means. So it'll just leave it. Then you can leave those comments in there to leave a message to me or possibly to your partners if you were working on a partnered group assignment, or if you were in the real coding world, a team would be creating a specific program, and you would have to comment every line of code that you put in so that it's clear to your partners what you're doing. So the comments can say anything. And now if I run my program, I get nothing happening because, like I said, the computer doesn't speak English, so it's not going to understand what these comments are. Okay, now that you have a lesson on comments, let's move on to the next one, and we'll call it printing. Printing is not what we typically think of printing. It's not creating a hard copy of something. Printing just means your program is going to display something. So when we print in Python, it's very easy. All you do is type print, and you can see as soon as I put in the first bracket, it automatically creates the second bracket for me. And now I'll write so now I've written my string and what I want the program to print, and I hit run. When I hit run, I get a syntax error, which means the format that I'm interested in introducing my code is not working. I look back here, and I forgot my quotation marks around my string. So now when I run it, everything inside the quotation marks prints out except for the quotation marks. So you'd have to double your quotations if you wanted them in there. This is our first lesson on Python. Hello world. Let's go back to our error message for a second here. I'm going to remove one of the quotation marks. I'm going to run it again. And I'm going to show you, because you're going to have these errors occur while you're writing. And you can see here it says syntax error, EOL while scanning string literal. So it's saying that there's an issue at the end of the line. You can get the same message by going to the red X, and it tells you that the error is in line 4, so you know that there's an error there, and it gives you even more information here in your print line. So it's saying this is where your error is, line 4, something's missing. So you have that opportunity to go back, recognize your miss, rerun it, and now the program functions. Okay, so here's another take on the print command. We can combine strings within our print. The most common first command that any programmer uses is hello world. It's common in almost every single language you use. That will be the first thing any teacher will have you create. So why don't we create a hello plus world. And we'll run that and see what happens. Okay, so you can see up here in our code it said hello space world. So it left the hello space world here. This one just adds hello world and it creates it all as one word. The command, the plus command in here, is just adding this string with this string. There's nowhere telling it to make a space. In order to address this, so we can have a space in here, I'd like you to pause it, play with it yourself, see if you can figure it out. Okay, so hopefully you did actually pause it and go try and figure it out yourself. There's 3 ways we can do this. First of all, we can put a space here. Now when it runs, it gives us the space. The second way is obviously at the end of hello. When we run it, our space shows up. The third way is to be very fancy and create a space inside quotations. So now when we run that, it has combined all 3 and put a space in between. So it's combined hello, space, and world. Now the next thing I want to do is just talk a little bit about spacing. Our comments are here and then our code is written like this. If I start putting some spaces between all my code and I rerun it again, you notice that nothing happens. There's no extra space at the top. There's no space between these 2 strings. That's because the space over here doesn't always coincide over here. You have to tell the computer, I want a new space, I want a new line over here in order for it to see this white space. Okay, now we're going to start working with some numbers. So I'm going to print the number 2. And when I run that, you can see the 2 shows up, but I didn't need quotation marks for that one. And I'll talk about that in a second. Now I'm going to print 2 inside quotation marks. They've both shown up. Okay, the next one is print 2.0 and print 2.0 inside quotations. And when I run that, all I'm seeing is 4 2s. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to printing something that's going to actually do something. So I'm going to print 2 plus 2. Now when I run that, it comes up with 4. Now what is going to happen if I print 2 plus 2 inside of quotation marks? Pause the video for a second. See if you can figure it out. Okay, so when I run this, 2 plus 2 without quotations and 2 plus 2 with quotations, you probably figured it out. The quotations are so important when we include them and when we don't, because if you include the quotations around 2 plus 2, it doesn't look at it as an operation. The computer doesn't look at it as, this is wanting me to do something. It just literally prints what's inside the quotation marks. So you don't get the mathematical equation that you wanted. The top one you do, 2 plus 2 is 4. The bottom one you don't. Now let's look at a way incorrect use of quotation marks can mess up your code. So let's say we go print 2 plus 2. Now up here we wanted an operation to add the two numbers together, 2 plus 2. When we run this one, now not only did we not get an operation, because of the way we've written this, including the quotations and the plus sign not being inside those quotation marks, not only did we not get 4, we ended up with 22, which is obviously a very different number than 4 and could seriously mess up any calculations that you throw into a program. So it's pretty essential that you know when and where to use quotation marks. The same thing occurs with the 2.0 plus 2.0 and 2.0 plus 2.0. See, when we run these, we end up with 4.0 or 2.02.0. Can completely mess up what you're trying to do, so it's essential that you understand when and when not to use quotations. Okay, that's lesson 1. Very simple. There's not a lot of syntax that you have to worry about with Python. We'll leave it at that for this lesson, and you can move on to the next assignment. That assignment is going to be very simple. It's just going to have you basically recreate stuff that you did in here, and I might have to throw a little lesson in there on how we share this information with me.